Hey everyone, you know I'm all about keeping it real when it comes to life inside and outside the dental world. And let's be honest, good sleep, solid health, and keeping our mood in check are what keep us functioning at our best. So, I put together a list of my go-to products, the ones I actually use every day to help with all that. If you're looking for game-changing sleep essentials, wellness must-haves, or little things that just make life better, check out my affiliate page. Head to teethmatter.squarespace.com/store to see what's in my daily rotation. Plus, if you grab something from the list, it helps support the podcast. That's a win-win. Thanks for being here, and let's keep leveling up together. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Teeth Matter. I'm your host, Ellie Halabian, DDS, and for those of you who are tuning in for the very first time, Teeth Matter is a podcast where we talk about the highs and the lows of a dental career. We talk about how to do dentistry differently. And in talking about doing dentistry differently, we come across people who are disruptors. They change the way we practice. And the guest we have tonight is Dr. Joshua Adcox. And I call him a disruptor because although by trade he is a board certified orthodontist, he is also the clinical director of remote care at Smile Doctors and also the founder of the Remote Orthodontist. And as you can see, both of these terms have the word remote in it, which means that he is modernizing orthodontic practices by advocating for digital workflows. Dr. Adcox emphasizes doing more with less, but better. And how he does that is through remote care. He opens up chair time for patients who actually need the in-person visits. He reduces the unnecessary appointments, and all of that enhances patient care and practice efficiency. So we dive into the remote orthodontist, what it is, how it works and applies to your practice, and the future of ortho. Let's get into it. Dr. Joshua Adcox, thanks so much for being on Teeth Matter. How are you?
Hey, I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm really delighted. I know you're an orthodontist by trade, but you're also a dental entrepreneur. So if someone was to ask you, what do you do and why do you do it? What would your answer be to them?
That's a great question. I change lives by straightening teeth. And I do it by changing the lives of the team members or the doctors around me. And I love it.
That's incredible. When I say dental entrepreneur, it's because you have this company called the Remote Orthodontist. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, this passion project has grown legs. I date it back to 2020 when I was feeling burnt out in my field, seeing a lot of patients a day, trying to juggle all the different things. Mm-hmm. And when COVID hit, I started applying technology like dental monitoring, going more digital with Invisalign or aligners, going away from some traditional orthodontic methods to streamline processes so I could essentially get my life back. Mm-hmm. And I was at burnout. So through time, I'm a part of a orthodontic support organization, Smile Doctors. I've been with them since the beginning and of my orthodontic career. And through that kind of growth with them, what's great is I get a lot of autonomy with Smile Doctors to practice how I want and use technologies the way I feel like they're intended to use. And so when I did that, it grew legs within our organization and to a point where they asked me to be the clinical director of remote care. I don't really know of any other organizations that have that. So it's kind of unique and new. And from that, I started lecturing and teaching hundreds of our doctors and locations on how to implement these principles, right? Kind of what I call do more with less, but make the experience better for everyone involved. And then it turned into lecturing and getting out there in private practice. And now I get asked all the time to teach these principles. So I just decided to create a course and a movement and a community of like-minded orthodontists. And a friend of mine about a year ago, we were together, we were skiing up in Utah, and I was explaining to him what I've been up to, kind of catching up. And he's like, oh, so you're like the remote orthodontist. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I guess so. And so that's where that kind of came from. So I just love helping others learn from my mistakes and see that there's a bigger picture out there to treat our patients and do really good clinical care, but do it on less effort and less things that bog us down. So that's kind of where it evolved from.
You mentioned remote ortho. What does remote ortho look like? How do you implement that? How do you make sure that it's successfully integrated? Could you just break that down for us?
Yes, and this is where I'm really passionate, is we all know we live in a day and age where, like my wife, I was just talking to her, she's like, I no longer like to go to a grocery store. I'm like, yeah, well, I don't know why you keep going. Like she orders everything, it comes, right? You just get on an app or whatever. The other day, one of my kids needed a prescription or we couldn't figure out what was going on with something on his face. And so she takes a picture, she connects with the doctor online. It took like 20 minutes or less to have a prescription. And she's asking me on my way home from work to pick it up. I'm like, wait, when did you go to the doctor? Right. And so these services have been around and are continuing to be a part of our everyday existence. And so why not orthodontics as well? So coming back to 2020, there's this company called Dental Monitoring. And we were kind of starting to use the product prior to COVID. And it had a platform where there's a little bit of AI early on where we could detect certain dental scenarios. And we were really interested in it for orthodontic care to detect, okay, brushing, hygiene, recession, and more importantly, like how's the orthodontic treatment going? And so we were toying with taking a phone and the phone with a particular, we call a scan box. That scan box helps orient the phone with a focal distance and control the depth of field and the lighting. So it's controlled every scan, which we all know in photography with dentistry, right? That we can get consistent pictures or videos of teeth to evaluate progress week over week. And so I started applying those principles, and I hit that burnout point at the end of 19, start of 2020, where I'm like, okay, I've got to make some changes or else I'm going to burn out. Like I was getting to a point where I was grumpy at home. I was exhausted when I go home. I was seeing on uppers of like almost 150 to 200 150 to 170 appointments a day.
Wow.
And 4.5 days a week. It's just like, it's the old school way of doing it. Like that's what our industry in orthodontics had been doing for, the last 20 years. And so remote, and I was very careful when we called this remote care. Remote just means we're providing the same service, just in a different location. Like you're this place and I'm in this place, right? We're just not present physically together. And so what we did is there's a lot of orthodontic visits that are just checks. Let's take aligners, for example. I use Invisalign, so I deliver an Invisalign case. And the tradition is to bring them back periodically to just check to see if the aligners are fitting and it's going well. You're checking to see, making sure the hygiene's good, that there's no other recession or things that are causing harm keeping it in the guardrails of treatment. Well, now I just have a patient scan weekly. And so we're actually getting eyes on it more frequently than we ever did before. And I have over 130 oral observations that we're looking for. We could even tell if a tooth color is changing, if there's suspected cavity, you name it. And we're able to know their treatment at any given time weekly, but just remotely. So it's asynchronous communication, and it gives the patient their time back. And it gives me, the doctor, and my team a little bit of time back as well to focus on the most important things that are in front of us, which are people and the appointments that we have reserved for them. And so I was able to scale back my office by applying these principles and organizing it in a way that we're taking even better care of my patients, I feel like, than ever, but doing it on less effort, less time, less appointments that bog us all down. And my patients love it too, because as much as I think they want to see me with my ego, right? They really don't. Okay. My wife told me that a long time ago. Moms are busy and they have better things to do. So if you can offload anything for them, you need to figure that out. And that's what we did. And so remote just means simply the tasks that, or the visits or things that we normally would see a patient in for, that can be offloaded to technology to just check on, like a bite correction, rubber band wear. Hey, I just want to make sure the patient's having good hygiene, things like that. We do that remotely now.
And can we trust a patient to give us good imaging or to provide this information on a regular basis?
Yeah, what's wonderful, and I've been really helping the development of this app, dental monitoring, is there's a lot of AI-based help with that. So, for example, we've recently launched the next version of the scan process, which it walks the patient through how to scan. And so it's kind of like a video game. You ever played like Sonic the Hedgehog? It's kind of like you get all the coins. Right. Or Subway Surfers. My kids play that game all the time. It was fun, actually. It's similar, right? There's this little dot and then this ring, and you have to move the phone around in a way to capture the dot in all the rings. Okay. And it like gives you a little notification when you hit it. So it's forcing you to move it in a way to capture the information. And then the app is smart enough to know which version of like a phone, what smartphone and which version they have, to know focal distance lighting and how those cameras work to get the best possible scenario in that outcome as well. And then if there's a blurry scan or we don't get enough information, we actually reject the scan and have the patient take it over. And so we do a lot of training on the front end with patients. Like before they leave my office, we take the first scan with them. We show them how to do training scans. They can practice all they want and show them what we're looking for to make sure we're on the same page of what we're after.
Right. Well, this shifts accountability onto the patient more so. So how do you get them to like commit to providing you with that information on a regular basis?
Oh, this is actually one of the hardest things. And one of the things I really focus on in my course, because this is the key. Because if they're not scanning, well, I have to see them in the office. So for one, we developed guardrails and protocols that if a patient isn't scanning, then we automatically call them, bring them into the office, and they now become a in-office appointment patient based on behavior, or until we motivate them to use the app. But what we found is we have way less of that nowadays. Like you're always going to have 100% of anything doesn't exist, right? But I'd say we're pretty good for the most part of motivating. Here's the key. This is one of my secrets. Is we don't actually schedule the next appointment for my patients. I know that may sound crazy, right? It's like not scheduling your hygiene appointment back for the next 6 months. Like you don't do that. All the consultants would be going crazy, right? If you did that. Yeah. So we don't schedule unless it's a delivery. There's only a few appointments that we actually need to schedule, but we don't schedule the next appointment. I tell the patient, look me in the eye. And it's all about commitment, right? And communication. That's the biggest thing we practice with my team and I teach. Say, hey, look, so this is not your traditional orthodontic experience. We're going to be having you scan weekly. And then in the scan, I'm looking for X, Y, Z, depending on what we're looking for that patient in that case. So if it's aligners, let's say, I'm saying, hey, I don't know when you're ready to change to your next stage. I need you to scan weekly for me. And that scan, we're going to evaluate it. And we're going to help you to know if you're ready to move to the next stage or to stay in that stage a little bit longer. It's a dynamic workflow where we're customizing the treatment just for you. Can you make sure you take those weekly scans for me? And then I pause and wait for a verbal confirmation, right? And then just really empowering the patient to understand like, hey, this is up to you. This is the things, we're giving you the tools. We're going to check in weekly. And please don't progress unless we give the okay to do so. And then we progress through that. And then I tell them, look, you have, let's say, 28 active aligners. Our goal is to get to number 28. When we get there, I'm not really sure. It depends on many factors. So we're going to dynamically work through this with you week over week. And when you hit that goal, or there's a challenge before then that we need to take care of, we'll invite you to schedule and come on into the office for an in-office visit. How's that sound? And we go forth that way. So that's kind of how we motivate patients to scan, is because there's skin in the game, right? Like they don't be able to change to the next aligner And and then that's how we know when they're going to come back. For braces, it's a little different. We can also tell through the app and the AI, the artificial intelligence that we've developed, when a wire is done working, right?
Interesting.
Yeah. And so I can go, I'm like, hey, I don't know when your wire is ready to be changed. I think it will, on averages, based on what I'm seeing, it'll probably be between this week and this week, but I don't really know. So I need you to scan every week so we can tell, hey, is there anything broken or loose? How's the brushing going? How's the bite correcting? And when the wires are ready to be changed. And then we'll invite you back to the office to do that. And what's awesome is my schedule is so great. So like it consolidates it to where like we fill it up as we go, like every week or two, but like 3 or 4 weeks out from now, I'm pretty open. And so if I needed to make a change for my personal life, or like, let's say I have a team member get really sick, or there's a family event that happens, and I can adjust my schedule according to my team's needs and my needs. And for me, that's really great too. Right?
Yeah. I'm really curious to know what your schedule looks like now, going from the 140, 50 patients a day, clinical day, to now. What do you see in one day?
So my goal now, what I think is doable for me, Josh Adcox, is around 80 patients a day, right? So we almost essentially went in half, and that's including my exam. So like clinic, somewhere between 60 to 70 appointments to do actual, chair side. So I run about 6 different chairs, which is really common for an orthodontic practice. Before I was running closer to 10 to 12. And so you can imagine, more clinicians, I call them clinicians, not assistants. They're not assisting me. They're doing a lot of the work. They're amazing. My team's amazing. That's the other thing I coach is team empowerment and building my team up to do more. What that did is it allowed me not to have to run around and see everything, because I could do it and I did it. It just I wasn't able to spend the time with each patient and like visit with the mom or dad or the patient and really make those meaningful connections. And that's what I'm passionate about. That's what gives a good patient experience. And now I can. And so that's comfortable for me. Some people think it should be a little less, others a little bit more. But again, that's based on personality and what they want out of their day to day. And so I went from 4.5 days a week doing that. Now we do about 3.5 days a week of less, but we've actually grown our practice. So you can imagine how efficient we've been able to operate that way.
That's incredible. You mentioned earlier in our conversation that you were going through burnout and you made some mistakes, and now you're teaching people how to not make those mistakes by introducing these courses. What is one of those mistakes that you're trying not to repeat?
Taking care of myself as the number one step. It's not anything to do with your practice, your team. It is getting serious about giving yourself some time and some grace too, right? I started exercising better around that time. I got into some better routines that helped me show up as the best version of myself. Now, I'm always trying to refine that and improve it. But for me, it's exercise daily if I can. It's also, I like to read. I actually read or listen to my books, but I'll go back and then write notes. So I do that and I walk. I'm kind of weird. I'm like an old man. So I like to work out, but then I like to go on an old man walk. So my walking is like my reading time or just thought process, thinking time. I don't really meditate, but I guess I have forms of meditation. They can be my walks if I don't have anything I'm listening to, or they can be just like, I like to sit in my backyard after things like that and just think about my day, think about where I'm at, things like that. I mean, whatever a routine is for you, but it's about taking care of yourself so that you can take care of others. And when I did that, I started to have more energy and I started to decide what I really wanted. So to kind of step it back a little bit too, I had taken over a practice of my mentor, Scott Law, who's amazing. He's very well known in our industry. He's actually the one who started Smile Doctors, the largest orthodontic support organization, amazing leader. But you can imagine fulfilling his shoes in his original practice, the flagship practice. And so it's a big task to do. And I found myself around 2019, I just doing it how Scott Law did it. and not applying the technology that I wanted to do. And I was just doing it like he was doing. I was suffering at the time and I didn't realize it from imposter syndrome. And it was around then where I just made some very intentional changes. And in fact, I'd contemplated, even looked into leaving, buying a practice, trying to scale back or whatever that meant. But my wife, she's super wise. She let me go through that exercise of considering all those different things. That would have meant we have 5 kids. So that would have meant us uprooting our family, starting over again. We've done that so many times with school, etc. And she said, Josh, like, we can do this. I'm all in. However, like, I think it's you that needs to change. Like, if you can make the changes, like, that's the only, it'll just be a repeat of what's going on if we just move. Like, you need to make some intentional changes. And that's where I started really getting into, okay, what I got to do. I started looking at successful individuals in our field and outside of our field. And I noticed some common things. They take care of themselves. It kind of sounds selfish, but they put them first. And a lot of them have routines that are beneficial, whether it's exercise or moving your body, and then learning and putting effort into yourself. So I started reading some books, like self-help books, and I ran across one called Essentialism by Greg McKeown. I love it, by the way. I recommend it. He also wrote one on effortless and some great ways to automate things and think about things in a way that sift down the trivial many things to the vital few that are important. Okay. And that's where I came up with this mantra. He talks about doing less but better, and also more but less. And so I came up with a mantra I live by I want more. I want to grow. I want more of things in life, but I want to do it on less effort. But I want the experience to be better. So I literally tell myself every day, today, what do I want more of? How do I do more with less, but better? And I really try to, from the eyes of that lens, looking at my personal life, my relationships, and my work, and live by that. And so I did that personally with my wife, my relationship with my kids. I wanted more time with them. I wanted less stress. I wanted to be a better dad and husband. And then I did that at work. And that's when I just like, okay, part of that is applying technology. That's how you do more with less.
All right, let's talk about something we all know and love, Figs Scrubs. Figs is the go-to brand for healthcare professionals who want to look good, feel good, and perform their best. Whether you're on your feet all day or tackling tough tasks, Figs Scrubs offer unmatched comfort and durability, all while looking incredibly sharp. And because you're listening today, you can snag 20% off your next order using the referral code in the show notes. You already know Figs is a trusted brand in the industry, so why not level up your wardrobe while saving some money? Check it out and use that code for your discount.
Technology. That's how you do more with less. And then I started to figure out, okay, how do I automate processes to make it effortless? And it was empowering my team, spending time and investing into them and educating them and making them really good at their craft. Because if they're good, that makes it easier for me and it makes us all better. So that's kind of where this stems from, is so taking care of yourself and then investing in your team and your relationships. So I put a lot of time into my team. I spend a half hour, sometimes more, every day educating them. So we start off with a morning meeting to celebrate wins from the day before. We go over metrics, but then we spend a good 20 minutes, sometimes longer, learning how to treatment plan, diagnose, how to do procedures well when we do this, how to problem solve things, how to do conflict resolution with things with patients. And so it just takes a lot off my plate because I can trust them in what they do. And then applying technology like dental monitoring to offload trivial mini tasks as well. So I know there's a long answer, and then you can get into all the other things you do with just automating and being a good orthodontist. You know, it's and these are all principles I teach in my course, actually. And I actually don't even start with straight in like, all right, how do you do remote care? Like, no, you got to get your house in order. You got to take care of you. How do you do more with less? And I build upon these principles. How do you empower your team? And then you get to the meat, which is, okay, here's how you offload visits. Here's how you do dynamic scheduling. Here's how you, et cetera, et cetera. And that's how you truly do remote care. But it's not about just not wanting to see your patients. Like, that's not it. It's truly doing what's best for each person in each scenario. So.
No, I love that mantra. And it seems like it's done a lot for you personally, but also professionally. And it's investing in automation has been clearly a benefit to you and your practice and also your patients. So where do you see remote monitoring? How do you see remote monitoring impact orthodontics?
Yeah, look, it's going to completely change the landscape of orthodontics. Obviously, I don't know if you knew this, Ellie, about me. I practiced general dentistry for about 3 years. Taught with one of my mentors, Pascal Magnier, Abdi Samani. I was fortunate enough to have my education at USC with them. They really shaped who I am with this. And so being a general dentist, knowing how general dentists, operate, think, and then going back to school and becoming an orthodontist, I'm very passionate about orthodontics. And I feel, and this is how I was trained, is that certain specialties should be done by specialists. And that's why I became a specialist, is because I was constantly referring to ortho to set up a case to do minimally invasive dentistry. Less is more. That's what Pascal taught me, right? And so I want to keep orthodontics with orthodontists. I think general dentists and technology has allowed us to do good orthodontics, even being, doing a weekend course or some training with Invisalign or other ways. And so where I see remote care leading, and this is why I'm actually teaching orthodontists on how to do orthodontics remotely, is because I see a day where my GP, my general dentist that I have a relationship down the road in my community, that I do his ortho for him, but remotely. We keep it in-house, but we use the technology and the platforms that we have to be able to communicate. It's their patient and stays in their practice. But let's say with aligners, I can treatment plan, diagnose it, do the aligner setup, and then remotely monitor the whole case, communicate back and forth to the patient, minimize how many times that patient needs to come into the office, because I'm going to take care of all of that, and then make sure it finishes up appropriately to a high standard of care. And then if there's setting up the cases well for restorations, all the things that go along with that. Remote care is here, and it's not going away. It's just getting better. We're actually getting ready to, by the way, this technology is FDA approved, by the way. Dental monitoring has gone a long way to, it's a whole de novo category in the FDA. And so it's just getting started. With this FDA approval, we can now monitor a case in 3D, in like an STL file, right? So we start with an STL file from a scanner, intraoral scanner. And then every time our patients scan with the scan box and app, it recreates a 3D STL file. And so at any time, week over week, I know exactly where those teeth are and how it's going. And so it just completely changes the game on how well we're able to treat our patients. And it opens up possibilities for more access to care. This is where I really see it. Let's say, as I live in Texas, there's all these small little towns that don't have orthodontists that go there. And so it's really a burden for these patients. I have some that travel an hour and a half to come see me. And so it's an opportunity where I could connect with their dentist and do a lot of their care remotely, right? And do it well in these ways. And so anyway, you kind of see where I'm going with it. It's opening up a whole new world of orthodontics.
Absolutely. And also, this is very interdisciplinary. And so I'm curious to know, like, in that case, the attachments are being put on by the general dentist, but you're just watching the whole progress or progression of that patient from wherever you may be. It could be an hour away or 100 miles away, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And so it really depends on what is needed in this case. Like, I believe in doing orthodontics in a simple way. Less things I have to do to teeth is always better, right? The less time I have to put a burr or anything on a tooth, always good. So let's say less attachments or less IPR, less things that we don't really need. I found to keep things very simple, but still get the same result. And technology is allowing us to do that. But there are times where it's like, yeah, we need to put attachments on, or we need to do whatever, interproximal reduction, whatever those things are. The goal would be to train and make sure that that team that we have a relationship with can do that to a high level as well. Or it's just we're delivering aligners. So for instance, too, this is what's really cool too. Let's say I get halfway through my aligners with a patient, but a couple of teeth stop tracking well, which happens. Or we get to the very end of the set, but there's some finishing improvements we need to make. With this technology of reproducing the STL file every like it's in real life, it's really where the teeth are. I can reorder and replan what I need to do without them having to step foot into an office and get a new intraoral scan. And then either mail them to them or they can come by the office and pick them up or whatever that is. Now, doesn't mean I still need the patient in for their checkups, their cleanings, x-rays. And that should be happening already every 6 months or depending on what the patient needs are in that dental office. But there's certain things that aren't necessary to do. And that's where we're getting better and better at with the technology to keep it simple. And again, to how to do more of that on less effort, less things that bog us down and that aren't needed. Right. And, but yeah, I think those relationships with dentists, I mean, they're already doing it, right? Bonding attachments, doing IPR. But many of them I find, and I was this way, and that's why I became a specialist, are bogged down with ClinchX. I mean, if you want to add up the dollar amount of what I've done to be a ClinchX specialist or a aligner specialist, it's thousands of cases and thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars, basically being an orthodontic residency, right? To get there. And so it's tough because you don't know what you don't know. And it's when things go sideways that it's like, all right, well, how do I recover? And that's where a specialist comes in, right? And the second layer to this is simply the efficiency, right? For an orthodontic practice to be profitable, you have to be efficient at doing it. If you see the patient too many times, it's just like this in dentistry. If they sit into your chair too many times, well, your profit goes down each time on that, whatever that fee was for that procedure. So let's say we take a case, a normal orthodontic case. On average, a dentist is going to do it, let's say in 10 visits. I'm just throwing a round number out there. Well, I could probably do that in probably 4, right? And so because of how we set it up, less refinements, it's more accurate. We're going to have better setups from the get-go, all the things. And then the remote monitoring allows us to know how it's going in real time. And those check aligner appointments, all those things kind of go away. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
And that's kind of where I'm trying to take the industry is, or at least orthodontists, teach them how to do that. And then if we could just combine forces and truly have good interdisciplinary care with general dentists and orthodontists, that's the sweet spot. It's a win for everyone. And that's kind of the goal here.
I mean, definitely sounds like a win, but I'm sure someone's going to listen to this and ask, well, like, how do you code for this? How do you charge for this virtual or remote monitoring?
So that's a great question. There's a couple ways to get around it. Depends on your state, the insurance companies, depends on how you'd form a relationship with your orthodontist to do those things. Let's take, for example, right now I have an iTero and a general dentist off one of my referring partners. Mm-hmm. It's in his office. He uses it for his restorative, but he also on cases that potentially need orthodontic care, they take a scan on those and they send the patient over for a consult. Mm-hmm. Now, to get away from paying for a consult, because that's illegal, we can't do that. We just reimburse him every time he sends somebody over, like for those scans, because I didn't have to take it. Mm-hmm. So dentist took it, we can reimburse him for that. So there's things like reimbursing for delivering aligners, adding attachments, things like that make it a win-win for both parties. Okay. And there's groups that are already doing this in certain ways. But stay tuned because I got something in the works in the background that will bring it all together in a beautiful, beautiful way. Because it has to be a win. Like, I've been a dentist. I am a dentist.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. Like, I get it nowadays. I wouldn't want to refer everything out. We're faced with so many challenges nowadays. And orthodontic fees, like, it looks like a great money grab in a way. Not a money grab. I shouldn't say it that way, but it's like, oh yeah, that's a large fee. And I just got to hand out aligners. It sounds great until it's not. But is there a way to get the same amount of, return on that, but like have an orthodontist do it all for you? And it's done to a high standard, and you'd probably end up doing more cases because the orthodontist is trained to do even harder cases remotely. That's a win. And that's what I'm looking for. And then the patient benefits, right? Good communication, constantly weekly, and making sure it's done to a high level. And so that's what we're really after. And that's where the second part of my idea of the remote orthodontist will come hopefully soon.
Well, I'm excited to hear more about that when it's ready. I am curious to know that, obviously you're saying all these great things, which show me that there's so much technology out there that's grown to this point where you can utilize it in such a productive way. But I also want to know, do you think there are some downfalls to AI where we can maybe rely on it too much? Is there like a dependency issue where we might over treatment plan or maybe overdiagnose because of it?
Yeah, man, I got two answers to that. My friend Kyle Stanley and we went to dental school together. He helped form Pearl. A lot of dentists probably know this company, AI diagnosing X-rays. And so we have conversations about AI here or there. And what we've found as we use AI with, for him diagnosing X-rays and for me identifying clinical scenarios, it actually has made us a smarter and a better orthodontist or dentist in diagnosing. We have decision fatigue and we're only human. And so there's things that you miss. But when AI, I call it like my remote or virtual assistant, right? And it assists me to notice the things that matter and bring it to my attention. Because, again, we as human beings miss it, but AI doesn't. So let me give you an example. I remember the first time, and I was very doubtful of some of the accuracy here. And again, yeah, can we get dependent on it? Absolutely. And in my eyes, there's certain things I want to just be dependent on because it does it for me. It automates the processes that I don't need to focus my time on. But this is one of them. Braces case. I scan all my braces and aligner cases. The upper, tooth number 2, back second molar, the bracket came off, but it had a power chain to it attached to the wire. So it doesn't look like it's off, but it is definitely off. The AI identified that it was off, and it's in the back. It's hard to see, especially on a scan.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, that bracket's off. And I look at it, I'm like, no, it's not. This AI thing's not working. And so I zoom in and I look closer. I'm like, oh yeah, it is off.
Wow.
And I couldn't believe it. And another example was the first couple of times I got notifications from the AI telling me, hey, this patient has recession on this tooth. And I look at it and then I start looking at comparison photos and I'm like, oh, I wouldn't have noticed that. And it's like a 0.5 millimeter, but it's changed. I'm like, okay, we need to pay attention to this tooth. And now I flag it and I look at it more often. And normally I would have, in a traditional standpoint, I would have gone 10 weeks, give or take, to see that patient, and it could have changed more drastically, right? And so it's making me a better clinician, right? A better orthodontist in those ways. And then on the idea of like, hey, is it going to replace us, or are we going to depend too much on it? I had dinner once with the chief technology officer for Line Technology. Relko is his last name. And I asked him this question. I said, we were joking around. We were talking about AI, and I was like, look, Relko, like when's AI going to replace us doctors? Like, when are you just going to replace us all together? He's like, he laughs. He said, never. AI will never replace the doctor. However, the doctors who don't learn how to use the AI will replace the ones who do use it will replace the ones who don't. And I kind of opened my eyes a little bit. I'm like, oh, okay. that was an eye-opener for me. I'm like, okay, yeah, this technology's here. It's not going anywhere. And I feel kind of a little bit of a stewardship, kind of like Kyle, my friend Kyle Stanley, of making sure we use technology the right way for our industries, and that we teach others on how to do that to a high standard as well. And so I'm very passionate about making sure the patient experience, the team experience, and how we use these technologies delivers the ultimate patient experience in these ways. Not like a direct-to-consumer style a disaster, right? And so that's I'm very careful on how we teach the principles and use it.
So tell me a little bit more about your master course. How many modules or how many weeks is this program? What can someone expect?
Yeah, it's great. If you like to binge like I do, you can just blow through it in a couple of days. So it's a 6-module course. I call it the Remote Practice Revolution, 6-module framework to time and freedom in your orthodontic practice. And I usually recommend to listen back to it at 1.5 speed. I love to storytell, and I love to make good, I'm a storyteller. So when I teach, it's in story form. But for those who don't like stories and just want to get to the meat, each module has a module preview that just gives the whole outline of that module. There's usually 2 or 3 lessons per module. And yeah, you can just go through, get the things you're looking for. And a lot of times I'll say like, hey, if you don't want the leadership and that part, then I'll just direct people to the modules that they really want to just get to. But yeah, it's a 6-module course. You get about 10 CE credits for it, 11 if you take the intro and a few of the other things, the bonus material. And but I'm going to constantly be iterating it and adding more things to it as technology improves. We'll be teaching that one out, and stay tuned for a group movement that we're going to be doing, a group that you can be a part of for a community-based learning, monthly CE webinars to learn new topics as they come, with guest lectures on experts at certain parts of remote practice principles or not, right? Just to be well-rounded. Right. And then I do one-on-one coaching as well, depending on who needs it and what their desire is. But usually I do one-on-one sessions as part of the course as well, complimentary.
I love that. I love the course itself, but also what's coming with the whole community and building that out. I do want to ask you one last question, and that is, where do you see Ortho in 10 years from now?
Ooh, great question. I really see Ortho going more digital and applying these principles. Obviously, I think it is because I'm teaching it, right? Going more digital and it can be more remote. I still see brick and mortar orthodontic offices, obviously. Okay. But I see, and I hope for, a future that has our dental industry partnering with general dentists and other specialties to collaborate more and use technology to give the best possible treatment outcomes to our patients, and doing it in a more conservative, less touch way, right? Just like Pascal taught me, and my mentor Abdi taught me to, respect Mother Nature, respect how it was formed, and put it back in the best possible way. Orthodontics, I'm trying to teach principles like that as well. Respect the occlusion, respect the enamel of these teeth, respect the dentition, and put it in the best possible way. And so aligners or customized braces and customized ways to do that is the future. So I really see it becoming a lot more, the workflows, the digital platforms, all of the technology, just improving more and more and more. It's already 3D. It's going to be even more 3D in real time. So honestly, in 10 years, it's going to blow me away. It's hard to even imagine what it's going to be like, but it's going to be awesome.
I know technology is just moving so fast. AI is moving so fast. But Josh Adcox, I appreciate you sharing your insights. I want people to be able to reach out to you. How can they get in contact with you, or whether they want to sign up for the course?
Sure. You can just go to theremoteorthodontist.com. Also hit us up on our Insta handle, the.remote.orthodontist. You can also just email me, josh@theremoteorthodontist.com. So any of those places, you can email me on the website, you can message us, all those areas, you'll get me.
I'll make sure to link all of that in the show notes. But Dr. Josh Adcox, thanks so much for your time and being on Teeth Matter.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure, Ellie.
If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow our podcast, write a review, leave a comment. Anything you share with us goes a long way. And if you think a friend will appreciate this podcast, then make sure you share it with them too. Until next time, cheers.